welcome to today's video. In today's video, we'll look at a scenario in which South America and Africa go to war. What would South America be able to do? Not too much, I don't think, but they'd do well. And now to see them back, we will mark naval fighting on the coast that they meet, really. Which is kind of obvious, I guess. And this is where they'll probably have their navies ready. I would say the navies will have to go all the way back. And since we're using the Mercator projection, we won't worry about 3D warfare. Which is unfortunate, but it's really hard to get a globe map that actually functions in the globe, sadly. And while their navies are all ready as the African Navy starts moving forwards. But you may think that they've already started, really. But South America basically moves all the way there. And then Everai basically just splits the naval waters off. And this is where a lot of naval fighting breaks out, as the battle for the South Atlantic rages on. It's a big battle. Within days, a lot of casualties are about, but the battle of the South Atlantic continues. Pretty far until South America manages to make a breakthrough here, but the battle still rages on despite the fact they can land. Because the battle's over naval control and dominance, which they have made in one area. So South America, who has the 10th strongest nation, which is one of the top 10, I know Brazil is. I believe Brazil is. Maybe they're not. But I think they are. With them landing by Liberia, which is a good movement. As they move up. And they do a lot of damage. And the damage is so severe. But keep in mind, Africa also has more countries. Way more people. So yeah. In the beginning, it looks like South America is going to win, but they probably won't. Keep in mind that just because they do good in the beginning doesn't mean anything, because they can win battles and still lose the war. You can win more battles and lose a war. Don't understand how that works, but I guess it is possible. I guess there could be no battles until your battle of your capital, and you could have won 100 battles, and then just battle of your capital makes you collapse. Well, I'm moving towards the Democratic Republic of Congo in this area. Moving up, Nigeria is shocked at how well they're doing, but really, keep in mind, Nigeria has almost the same, has like half the population of South America, I believe. I'm not sure if that's correct. You might want to look at it yourself. Well, they're making a landing here into Congo and one into Cameroon. And at first, they're doing a good job taking the coast of Nigeria, but keep in mind, Nigeria is really populated. As they take out the Congo's capital, both of the Congos collapse, basically. Except some of the Congos still standing. They're not really moving north because that's holding it way too well. But then here it kind of snaps, and up here it snaps. As everybody thinks the war is over, more naval vessels start heading over. As they invade Namibia, and almost everybody disappears for some reason. I don't know why. That most people didn't return after. Well, I'm trying to get to Addis Ababa, whatever the capital is of Ethiopia. As they move into Ethiopia and move towards it. But suddenly, Nigeria gets enough people conscripted that they have a huge offensive. This is about South America's demise, as huge conscription has been going on in Africa, and South America is now starting conscription, which might be a bit late. But really, not too late. And this is where it ends up. As they get their conscripts over, they move into Mali and Mauritania and Burkina Faso. And up into Morocco and Algeria. This is their second offensive. But this time they want to split Africa into 3 sections. And they move up to try the last section. But at this time, yeah, their sections kind of get demolished. And the navies are all moved over. That's happening. Despite the fact South America should be stronger, remember, France is not involved. Neither is Britain, despite the fact Faroe Islands, Falklands, not Faroe, that's a different thing, and French Guiana is involved. With the Battle of the South Atlantic raging on, the second battle of it, they call it. Some people still think it's more the first one, but others call it the second. With the South American victory in the first one, African victory looks likely. With a big encirclement being made, so a big retreat is made. But unfortunately, they don't retreat quick enough, and now there's an encirclement with about 300,000 troops. Yep, you heard that right. With the retreat there, but still an encirclement and about 200,000 troops. They make an encirclement here of a few 100,000 troops. And South America is unable to hold back anything, basically. Their navy is being destroyed, so Africa heads for Brazil. And Brazil is shocked at this. And then the northern areas up here, they fly right through. That's mostly Algeria, Egypt, and Morocco's navies. As Nigeria's is unfound. As they make a landing in northern Brazil, Brazil is shocked. And they make a few in Venezuela, but nobody's shocked about that. They're like, Venezuela, could he pick up the slack? But Venezuela is like, I'm trying. Sure. With Brazil making a full-on counter-offensive. But, unfortunately, they don't lose the war. And then a naval landing's made here, hoping to encircle a few mil. But a lot of troops start retreating, leading this to about 1.5 million troops encircled. With it looking very hard for them to win, the Navy is starting to outmaneuver with naval dominance the Red Navy. With a lot of troops and vessels being encircled, the battle continues, with the split of the Atlantic being known what's now. And then pushing towards Africa. But keep in mind, both of these are part of the Battle of the East Atlantic. With the Battle of Central Western Africa raging on, with an African victory and about 300,000 troops encircled. Why only 300,000? A lot did escape during the battle. But yeah. And some didn't really make it. With the Falklands and Argentina's and Uruguay's navies collapsing. And I think that's the Sandwich Islands. I don't even know what that is. Fine, I don't even know what that is. So probably shouldn't be saying a random island's name. But yeah. With Brazil's navy being sunk. And South America blaming each other for these defeats. But they aren't looking inside to see if somebody's going to be traitorous. But luckily nobody will. Probably. But, yeah. They move into Colombia fast. And eventually they're like this. And they quickly move down from here. And really fast. At speeds not Africa and South America, it's unable to hold these back. So it quickly, rapidly expands. And none of them manage to be pushed back. Even the ones down here. But then again, no troops are probably down in the cold area freezing for no reason. They would think. But yeah. And then Rio's encircled and taken. But at least Brasilia is still standing. And with millions, I mean millions of troops, like let's say 20 million to like 5 million South American troops. And that's after extensive conscription in both continents. But just to let you know, it's not really that extensive because Africa has 1 billion people, South America has 500,000. But yeah. With South America, with Argentina's capital having fallen, Paraguay just out and leaves the war. So does Bolivia, Peru, and Ecuador. Who knew? Foreign nations would back out of this coalition. With troop numbers now to like 4 million. But some nations are too far in to retreat. But then Chile's like, yeah, we're ready to leave the war. Argentina says the same thing, but Brazil tries to say the same thing, but they get attacked. Because they're accused of starting the coalition, and they refuse to let them off. And Brazil collapses. And now it's time for the peace treaty. The Treaty of Addis. And why am I calling it Addis? Because it's easier than saying Addis Ababa. Whatever the second word is. Maybe we should just do the Treaty of Kinshasa, which is in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Okay, we'll do the Treaty of Kinshasa. I didn't mean to do that, guys. That's a complete accident. But, yeah. Now it's time to South Africa, Egypt, Ethiopia, yellow. Egypt, kind of purplish pink. Egypt, aquaish. Greenish, darkish green for Nigeria. Red for Algeria. And blue for Morocco. And then the rest of the nations have become African puppets, controlled with governments that are pro to the African nations, and basically follow their every demands, and pay them a really huge amount of money to the African Union, which is spread out through all the African nations. And every African nation is put in the African Union now. Not just the suspended members are back in, but even members who haven't been recognized. But if you're in Africa, you're now in it. So yeah. And so they did a pretty good job winning. And now let's go to the part where I talk about subscribers. And yeah, so we're at 619 subscribers, which is 181 away from 800 subscribers by August 1st and July 2nd. So we have 29 days left. So if you could, please subscribe, like, comment. That's all for today's video. Wild Mapper out, but not until you subscribe. Bye. Have a nice day.